Chemical bros said dig your own hole. But when Glasgow City Council's offering cheap funerals for the pauper, well, you know who's on the payroll. That's right, just GCC Rolls Royce in it. 5G sucking on the tit. Think they'll get away with it? Build a prison state and split. When the ass is the fool, is the map is the tool, is the book is the black and the blue, well, you can read it in the mirror, you can see it on your Facebook. Piety and leverage, sovereigns and their beverage, masking our existence till we all sit still, abuse the hunt, confuse the kill. And you cunts will still work with the BBC. They are the loaded machine gun in your pocket. At best, recruitment for Great Britain's army. Extinction cells, rebellion cells, economic plans to hook us up in jail cells. We have always been different. We do not always get along. But when they citizens assemble, they'll have pitchforks in their horns. You want more laws to set us free? Kill the bill. Stand up under the government's faults and stop being used. This modern life leaves no time for the blues. Oh, sinner man, what have you done? They're chasing you, but why do you run? Who taught you right from wrong? Did your teacher tell you they were the one? And did you do it that way? They said you should have been a praying. Yeah, they said you should have been a praying. What god or hero is there left to pray to? You ran to the moon, they bled you. You ran to the sea, they sank you. They frack the rock, they freeze the sun. Oh, sinner man, what have you done? Did they learn your name before they point the gun? Oh, sinner man, what will you do? They lay their hate and fear upon you. Your history becomes another scapegoat. They said you should have been a praying. And they said you should have been a praying. What god or hero is there left to pray to? Alright, good evening. I'm Doctor Normul. I'm not a comedian. In fact, my songs aren't that funny. This next one is about drug deaths in Glasgow. Some guy took a load of blues today, and he's another man down. Some guy didn't get to choose today, and we're another man down. And no, it didn't make the news today. We're just another man down. Another man down. We have been at war for too long. Our memory of peace is broken. We sent men to fight, we made the machines. Our society is a product of eugenicist dreams. Lullabies are battle cries. Our children are soldiers, while we sacrifice all meaning and existence to perpetuate war and fear. And send another man down. And send another man down. And send another man down and send another man down. Some guy took a load of blues today, and we're another man down. Some guy didn't get to choose today, and we're another man down. And no, it didn't make the news today, we're just another man down. There is a reason why it is this way. There's no good reason, and it has to change, lest we live our lives in chains and send another man down, another man down, another man down, another man down. Thanks very much, guys. This is another one on that theme before we turn to men. You know. This is called Clean Slate. Dawn breaks, soul shakes. How the fuck I end up in this state? I've been making all the good choices, been ignoring all the bad voices. Every right decision's a right incision into this fortress I built for living. And this is not living, and I can't keep giving it all away, or keeping it all for my own sake. New day, clean slate. Scream at the sky before I hesitate. Protocols are blunted, decisions way like lead. And still I'm not sinning, and I don't need forgiving. And this is not forgiving. Why won't you ever let me go? Dragging my soul out across the shallow, making me follow my own shadow. Everywhere you never want to go. Dawn breaks, clean slate. How the fuck I end up in this state again? Take this here and burn my effigy, pour my body right into the sea. Every right decision's a right incision into this fortress I built for living. And I'll do anything you ask of me. Yeah, I'll go running through the centuries. Just please let me go. Something's going on and it'll all be done before we can figure it out. Yeah, something's going on and it'll all be done before we can figure it out. Something's going on and it'll all be done before we can figure it out. Yeah, something's going on and it'll all be done before I can figure it out. Thank you very much. You're a wonderful crowd, and it's wonderful to be here in Ebenezer's Crewe. It's even more wonderful to be supporting the wonderful David Rovics, who will be playing later on. But thank you so much to everyone who's invited us and put this gig on. It's brilliant, thank you. This wee song is a cover of a Skip James song. I can't play guitar like Skip James. So this is my version of Devil's Got My Woman. But for me, the Devil's Got My Man. I'd rather be the devil than be my man's keeps me running where I'm from. We came from nothing and we built so much. We started in nowhere and we made our track. The devil's on your shoulder and he's taking it all back. My baby don't drink whiskey, he don't drink no wine. No, nothing but the devil's turned my baby's mind. And nothing but the devil can make him treat me so unkind. My baby studies evil just to have it on his mind. Yeah, he sees the darkness in whatever he can find. And nothing but the devil's turned my baby blind. I laid my head down last night, trying to get me some rest. I laid my head down last night, trying to get me some rest. My mind had got to rambling like the wild geese from the west. I wish I was a gambling woman so I could bet my life away. I wish I was a gambling woman so I could bet my life away. The devil, he keeps me running. Oh, the devil, he keeps me running. But he'll catch up with me someday. Someday. He's not the devil, he's just a very naughty boy. Right, guys, this song is about, I'm sure we all know them in life, people who talk a lot, do very little, give our votes away, give our freedoms away, try to speak on our behalf. So I hope you enjoy it. It's called They'll Drown You. They put money in our pockets, screens in our heads. They say their life is worth living and we're better off dead. They put stones in our reflection and tattoo our dreams. Welcome to the real world where nothing's as it seems. Give them the sea and they'll drown you. Show them the light and they'll burn you. Give them the wind and they'll suffocate you and sell you it back. And I'll forgive your torturers. Yeah, I'll forgive your murderers. Just give me my wages, my boat, my drink. Let me go home. Who needs concentration camps when we've got borders? Who needs the polis when you've got grasses for neighbours? They fucked our education and taken our tongue. While we feast on satire, we are left to burn. Give them the sea and they'll drown you. Show them the light and they'll burn you. Give them the wind and they'll suffocate you and sell you it back. And I'll forgive your torturers, well, they were just following orders. And I'll forgive your murderers, well, you don't have any papers. Just give me my God, my wages, my honey, let me go home. My mind is a minefield made up of what's not mine. I'm spending all my money, they're spending all my time. I don't want any future, yeah, they've taken that too. Dylan's Masters of War has come a bit too true. Give them the sea and they'll drown you. Show them the light and they'll burn you. Give them the wind and back the streets, 'cause they're all playing true to form. Yeah, they're all playing true to form. Tell me, when did I ask for the scraps off your table? You can tell me when my day is, but it's always getting later. You're all playing true to form. Yeah, they'll drown us in the eye of the storm. Thanks very much, guys. So I've got 2 wee tunes left for you. The first one is my wee love letter, another wee love letter to Glasgow City Council, because I just love them so much. I've got nothing to tell you that you haven't heard from the mouth of your memory. Talk is cheap, they have told you. Get up off your knees. Sing and dance as you please. Sing and dance as you please. Yeah, the city doesn't look so slick. Betrayed the body politic. The peasants can't sing and there's no tree to split. Pavements have passed their sell-by dates. They change the clock so you're never late. Midnight grows closer in a world that's meant to make you tick. And I've got nothing to tell you that you haven't heard from the mouth of your memory. Talk is cheap, they have sold you. Get up off your knees. Sing and dance as you please. Sing and dance as you please. And we all say yes when we get that check. You have to ask who benefits. $sign on every life. The pennies roll to the bottom of the river. They'll lock you up 'cause you won't tell lies. They bought and sold your alibis. Find your strength, free your head. Sing and dance as you please. Sing and dance as you please. Sing and dance as you please. I've got nothing to tell you. I've got nothing to say. Sing and dance as you please. Sing and dance as you please. Sing and dance as you please. Thank you very much. It's been wonderful to be here. You're a wonderful crowd. You're wonderful at home, sitting on Facebook. Give yourselves a round of applause. This is my last song. It is called Soul Cell. And I just thought we'd get a wee bit abstract. It's about smashing your way. Well, first of all, you need to smash your telly. Then you need to smash your way out of your own soul's cell. So, you know, a lot of eyeballs involved, a lot of resistance to surveillance systems and such things. So I hope you enjoy it, and it's been wonderful to be here. Windows to my soul cell, they got footage of the truth. I burnt it myself. Nothing is a story I won't tell. No, nothing is a story I won't tell. Is this real? This blanket of bright privacy's flashing our tits for a tenner a night, babe. It is really surveillance for a streetlight. Yeah, it's a lie, that's the problem with it being fact. Do all people have potential to act like that? If you base your statements on judges and acts, hang your head on the pavement, brace for contact. burnt it myself. Nothing is a story I won't tell. Nothing is a story I won't tell. Politics, circuses, nothing's real, doesn't matter, give your freedom to the streets. Bank transfer mad, hackers, aye cool, it's fine, no worries, that's a game. Need a twist, it's soundtrack to every mind frame. Nobody talks, everybody walks, but secrets are a currency. Magic beans spill a lot. Sleeves rolled and trousers down. Crack, whip you run this town. But you will all fall far from grace. Forget my name, forget my face. Cause more is being said than there is to tell. I panned in the windows to my soul cell. They got footage of the truth, I burnt it myself. Nothing is a story I won't tell. Nothing is a story I won't tell. Nothing is a story I won't tell. Cause Johnny's basement is burnt out, the attic's on fire, the carpet's mostly soaking upon that funeral pyre. The people were gathered in all their taxi numbers, had to go home early, some can't smash the floorboards, the vultures are fed up. I used to love this city, could have wrote it better. Now it's armed pigs and false glamour. You get what you tell, make sure you tell it well. Don't end in mirrored armies trapped inside your soul cell. What do you live for? What are you looking at? What do you see? What do you fight for? What do you bleed for? And what will you compromise? And we are free, and this is free. Behind enemy lines, we are free.
Lincoln's bombing Baghdad, there's a famine in Tigray. Fires are burning in Flagstaff, blocking out the day. The wind blows so fiercely, the grass is turning brown, and it's 116 degrees in Portland town. The prices of houses are rising like never before. Along with ocean waters, the temperatures soar. The developers develop, water tables go down. It's 116 degrees in Portland town. The Congress, they're discussing infrastructure, whether it should be built to withstand fire. They're not sure. They found a dead man in an RV wearing a thorny crown. It's 116 degrees in Portland town. In the farms in the valley, they're out picking cherries, dropping dead in the field with a bucket of berries. City of bridges, each one like a frown. It's 116 degrees in Portland town. No way out, even north of the border. Welcome to the New World Order. Produced by criminal corporate clowns. It's 116 degrees in Portland town. Blinken's bombing Baghdad, there's a famine in Tigray. Thank you. Toll Puddle Festival in Dorset last weekend, which was a wonderful time. Bit warm, bit lacking in shade, but not like splitting rocks in Australia. On the south coast of England in 1834, there was a trial that pitted the rich against the poor. On one side were the landlords with the private army, on the other side were farmhands, their hungry families. To combine was not illegal, but secret oaths were punishable by torturing so cruel it's unimaginable. Transportation, 7 years a slave, a sentence that ended in so many early graves. From the south coast of England in 1834, to imagine the privations of the trip that lay in store. 111 days locked up in the hold, fed on bread and water as the southern ocean rolled, and splitting rocks in Sydney beneath the blazing sun, finding out the hard way just how the West was won. All because they dared to try to stand up for their lives, to form a union, feed their children and survive. In 1834, word spread up to Sheffield and every other shore. Thousands marched in London, people organized all over, from Manchester to Merthyr, from Dundee down to Dover. Help came in from everywhere, the families were supported, the movement won a pardon to bring back the deported. And in 1836, most of them returned, one more battle in the class war about which we never learned. On the south coast of England, well, it is quite a reality to be living in failed states, is what I feel more and more like more of us are living in. I mean, it just seems like, for all the things that happen that are, more or less functional, how can it have been this many years of heat waves just in this country, which I come to a lot, where they haven't managed to put shades on the windows in the trains? This is not high tech. This is not they do this in a lot of European countries. They put shades on the windows, and then when the sun comes in, it doesn't bake everybody inside. It's a really old technology. It's been known about for a long time, and it's not happening here. But there's a lot of things like that, mostly much bigger things. Working 2 jobs and living in a tent, when a house costs $1 million and you can't pay the rent, when politicians say they'll help but it keeps getting worse each time the landlord lobby pulls the strings of the purse, when the human right to housing isn't even part of the debate, you're living in a failed state. When millions of citizens are spending half their lives locked up in a prison for trying to survive, when laws must be broken just to have a place to stay, when the prisons pay the senators to look the other way, if you have to be a criminal to put food upon your plate, you're living in a failed state. When you're facing climate breakdown, when the trees are all on fire, when half the country's underwater, when a climate change denier runs the nation, and the opposition party votes for oil rigs and pipelines, it's not so much a country as it is a corporation buckling under its weight, you're living in a failed state. When your nation is an empire facing daily blowback, and the only thing your leaders can think to do is attack. Bipartisan consensus that we need to spend $700 billion before the year's end on a military budget to make America great. You know you're living in a failed state. When almost every day some psycho with a gun has to open fire on a crowd before it's done. When a music festival becomes a free fire zone, and all they can say is, it's okay now, he was acting alone. Buy some armor, pray to God, and hide behind a gate. You know you're living in a failed state. You know you're living in a failed state. You know you're living in a failed state. Thank you. Let's see here. Well, I'll do something about, I wrote the song to alienate all my friends. I don't know what came over me, but it only worked with a handful of the most sectarian among them. I don't drive a car because they run on gas, but if I did, it'd run on biomass. I ride a bike, or sometimes a skateboard, so fuck off all you drivers and your yuppie hordes sitting all day in the traffic queues. I'm a better anarchist than you. I don't eat meat, I just live on moldy chives or the donuts that I found in last week's dumpster dives. Look at you people in that restaurant, I think you are so sad when you could have been eating bagels like the ones that I just had. I think it is a shame all the bourgeois things you do. I'm a better anarchist than you. I don't wear leather and I like my clothes in black, and I made a really cool hammock from a moldy coffee sack. I like to hop on freight trains, I think that is so cool. It's so much funner doing this than being stuck in school. I can't believe you're wearing those brand new shiny shoes. I'm a better anarchist than you. I don't have sex, and there will be no sequel, because heterosexual relationships are inherently unequal. I'll just keep on moshing to anti-flag and crash until there are no differences in gender, race, or class. All you brainwashed breeders, you just haven't got a clue. I'm a better anarchist than you. I don't believe in leaders, I think consensus is the key. I don't believe in stupid notions like representative democracy, whether or not it works. I know it is the case that only direct action can save the human race. So when I see you in your voting booth, then I know it's true. I'm a better anarchist than you. I am not a pacifist, I like throwing bricks, and when the cops have caught me and I've taken a few licks, I always feel lucky if I get a bloody nose, because I feel so militant and everybody knows. By the time the riot is all through, I'm a better anarchist than you. I'm a better anarchist than you. Thank you. Let's see here. This is a true story from the 1840s, which was a notably active decade around the world. Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels were writing the Communist Manifesto in London, and there were rebellions all over Europe. There was a rebellion in upstate New York, and the U.S. was invading Mexico, among other things were going on, famine. My name's John Riley, I'll have your ear only a while. I left my dear home in Ireland, it was death, starvation, or exile. When I got to America, it was my duty to go enter the army and slog across Texas to join in the war against Mexico. And it was there in the pueblos and hillsides that I saw the mistake I had made. Part of a conquering army with the morals of a bayonet blade. And there amidst all these poor dying Catholics, screaming children, the burning stench of it all, myself and 200 Irishmen decided to rise to the call. From Dublin City to San Diego, we witnessed freedom denied. So we formed the St. Patrick Battalion and we fought on the Mexican side. We formed the St. Patrick Battalion and we fought on the Mexican side. That's the chorus. I don't know if we got a choir in the room, but they're all sing-alongs. We marched neath the green flag of St. Patrick, emblazoned with Erin gold bra, bright with the harp and the shamrock, and Libertad para la República. Just 50 years after Wolfe Tone, 5,000 miles away, the Yanks called us a legion of strangers, and they can talk as they may. But from Dublin City to San Diego, we witnessed freedom denied. So we formed the St. Patrick Battalion and we fought on the Mexican side. We formed the St. Patrick Battalion and we fought on the Mexican side. We fought them in 5 major battles. Churubusco was the last. Overwhelmed by the cannons from Boston, we fell after each mortar blast. Most of us died on that hillside in the service of the Mexican state. So far from our occupied homeland, we were heroes and victims of fate. From Dublin City to San Diego, we witnessed freedom denied. So we formed the St. Patrick Battalion and we fought on the Mexican side. From Dublin City to San Diego, we witnessed freedom denied. So we formed the St. Patrick Battalion and we fought on the Mexican side. We formed the St. Patrick Battalion and we fought on the Mexican side. Well, the first time a red flag was ever flown as a symbol of revolution, according to all the historians of Wales, was in 1831 in Merthyr Tydfil. The main slogans of the uprising, the Merthyr Rising, which was put down by Scottish troops, was cheese and bread and down with the king. But I just couldn't really think of what to do with down with the king. It's been used. So, but cheese and bread is, I think, a fantastic slogan for an armed uprising. I think Julia Childs would like it. 1831, the age of industry begun. For the working folk of Wales, life was short. With wages cut again, it was only sensible that then folks took over, shut down the debtors' court. The gentry pulled the wire, told their men to open fire and restore the rule of their estate. But as the night descended and the battle ended, the soldiers had all fled behind a gate. They chanted cheese and bread, and our children must be fed in the days when Wales rose against the crown. They chanted cheese and bread with a bloody loaf above their heads when the red flag flew in Merthyr town. The message went out east and west to put the gentry to the test. The cavalry was ambushed and turned back. After so long playing defense, the time had come now when the workers were the ones on the attack. They chanted cheese and bread, and our children must be fed in the days when Wales rose against the crown. They chanted cheese and bread with a bloody loaf above their heads when the red flag flew in Merthyr Town. Crown sent soldiers by the store till order was restored. Then came Dick Penderyn's execution, another martyr for the cause, meant to give us pause the next time people call for revolution. They chanted cheese and bread, and our children must be fed in the days when Wales rose against the crown. They chanted cheese and bread with a bloody loaf above their heads when the red flag flew in Merthyr Town. Jet fighters bombed the palace. We all watched it on TV. The 11th of September, 1973. All across the world, people cried in vain as we heard stories of the students being tortured and slain. Stories of the workers, shop stewards and the rest, being slaughtered at the new dictator's behest. Labor groups condemned it, said we were on the workers' side, including all the engineers of East Kilbride. People organized a boycott of General Pinochet, who had overthrown Allende with a Hawker Hunter jet. Then a few months later, March of '74, Bob Fulton came to work at the Rolls-Royce factory floor. He looked at the orders that had come in that day and found crates with jet engines from Chile. Jet engines from the Air Force across the ocean wide, sent to be repaired in East Kilbride. It didn't take a minute for Fulton and his mates to come to the decision they would not touch these crates. Soon 4,000 Rolls-Royce workers voted they agreed to stand with the Chileans in their hour of need. Management decried them, the Tories screamed and cussed, but the Hawker Hunter engines were left to sit and rust. Nowhere else on earth were workers qualified to repair the engines sitting there in East Kilbride. Often hard to know if you've changed anything a whit, but decades later a Chilean general would admit. For a time in Santiago there were no fighters in the sky, because the whole Chilean Air Force had not one jet that could fly. They may not have changed the world, this group of union engineers, but these crates of metal sat for 4 years. So here's to British Labour, how for 4 years it tried to do what could be done from East Kilbride. Jet fighters bombed the palace, we all watched it on TV. The 11th of September, 1973. Ne pasarán. We're doing songs about historical events. That's the theme. And of course, historical events that are also current events, sort of, you know. The history and reality currently, they rarely mix, but they change the narrative. So then we don't know. It's like George Orwell. He really laid it out. That's how it is in the world. He just simplified it a bit for fictional purposes. But 1984 is the blueprint of what we're living through. One of them, And like how many people remember? I mean, people don't remember. But at the time, like was somebody on BBC mentioned the other day, like at the time during World War II, just to take a random example, everybody was aware that this was primarily a battle between Germany and the Soviet Union. But that's not what people remember now. That's not the historical narrative now. If you listen to enough NPR and BBC, and you're not going to get that impression about the war. You'll get a lot of other impressions, which are also very relevant stories and very important. Lots of people died. Most of them were Russian, though. But that's not the history you remember. And you can apply that. What I just said, that applies to everything. Here's just about everything. Here's a little story about Iran in 1980. If I have to, Missile strikes in Baghdad, skies full of fighter jets. Tension, and how does the song go? This is when you are you have two songs in your head, and then does this happen to you? And I'm thinking of another song here. Okay, we're going to abort that effort here. This is terrible. You should get your money back, except it's a free gig. But God, no, it'll come back to me, I think, at some point. It will. Maybe a different historical event. I will do this one. I'm driving the audience out of the room. They're like, my God, this guy, come on. Okay, here we go. Behind these prison walls, there's a man who's won awards for the work that he has done and all that it affords, such as the knowledge of the harbors committed in our name. They can't stop the message, so the messenger gets blamed. Behind these prison walls, in solitary confinement, in a land of rolling hills and royalty and other such refinement, is someone who is a hero to whistleblowers everywhere, who helped them tell the world of the crimes of Tony Blair. Behind these prison walls, you will find a mortal man, the reason why we know what happened in Afghanistan. The soldiers of the empire, whose sunset long before were torturing civilians in their terror war. Behind these prison walls is a part of WikiLeaks, an eloquent orator, but you won't hear him speak. Away in silence, one who knows too well how those in power act when there's another war to sell. Behind these prison walls is one who stands accused of exactly what offenses the U.S. has refused to say precisely which, or to try to clear the mist, or to explain how he's not the same as other journalists. Behind these prison walls is a person they deprive of most of the things in life that keep us all alive. A person being tortured as we stand here now for revealing the war crimes. Why, when, where, how? Behind these prison walls, our very right to be informed of what the hell is going on is a teacup in this storm. With knowledge there is power, so the solution by the crown, a 24-hour-a-day indefinite lockdown behind these prison walls.
Okay, so WikiLeaks was formed in 2006, and one of the first major leaks that WikiLeaks was responsible for facilitating and anonymously, protecting the source and getting the information out there to the world had to do with the really shocking levels of corruption within the Icelandic banking sector. Which seems kind of boring, so I tried to write a song to make it a little more lively.
Iceland is an island with 500,000 or so Vikings, mostly known for volcanoes, hot springs, and fishing, known for its welfare state for being good and socialistic. Certainly not known for being corrupt or nepotistic, but in the USA and Europe, when they were deregulating banks, Iceland's politicians took bribes and joined their ranks. Soon you had a situation one would think just couldn't be. A bank whose debt was worth 10 times the country's GDP. When Wall Street imploded, sure enough it spread. Banks all over the world were floating in the red. All over the world, governments made the plan to cut spending and raise taxes on the working woman and working man. The banks were bailed out while the people had to pay. But in Iceland, people thought there must be a better way. And the earth stood still a moment. Fear was struck in every toff when Iceland told the bankers, Iceland told the bankers, Iceland told the bankers to fuck off. That's the chorus. Let's sing with me. Folks were in the streets in Reykjavik and just couldn't be ignored. They said this is a debt we Icelanders can't afford. Let's guarantee deposits of all our people, yes indeed. But as for all the speculators motivated by their greed to make really dumb investments, to them Iceland said good luck. Sorry for your losses, but we don't really give a fuck. The 1% all trembled when they took away the trough. When Iceland told the bankers, Iceland told the bankers, Iceland told the bankers to fuck off. Gordon Brown called them terrorists, said we cannot let this stand. Who do these peacenik blondes think they are in Iceland? He threatened isolation, an economy in flames. But the Icelanders said, sorry, but the banks can settle their own claims, though that might be harder for them now that they're under house arrest. Or else they fled the country as they were most unwelcome guests. And now Reykjavik's recovery just makes the fat cats cough, since Iceland told the bankers, Iceland told the bankers, Iceland told the bankers to fuck off. If you haven't heard of this example, perhaps there's a reason why the owners of the world don't want this kind of shit to fly. They say we all must pay up if they're shakedown by the mob, if we can't afford to pay the rent because we don't have a job. They say it's not their problem if we're forever shackled by their debt. We must save the 1% from the fate they should have met. But there is an alternative, though it makes the fat cats cough, since Iceland told the bankers, Iceland told the bankers, Iceland told the bankers to fuck off. Since Iceland told the bankers, Iceland told the bankers, Iceland told the bankers to fuck off. Lovely.
So then the banks were bailed out, but then the people were not bailed out. Thank you, Gordon Brown and George Bush and Barack Obama. And then they bailed out the banks, but they didn't bail out the people. And so then what happened is this. This is a song about 11 years after the bailout. It's 2019, looking around at the tents and trash and excrement scattered on the ground. So many mansions overlooking the sea, Rolls Royces, stretch limos, and movie stars all over Los Angeles County. It's 2019, and one thing I know is most people wish we could rewind to a couple of decades ago, before the rents tripled. Folk began to move out into their cars, then into their tents, where drivers look on however loudly you shout. It's 2019, but in a black and white photo, it could be 1929. Wherever you go, in every single neighborhood, hungry people wonder why. Some make billions on a blockbuster while so many are left out to die. It's 2019, where every 8 hours someone is found cold on the sidewalk beneath the glass and steel towers in the wealthiest nation in all of human history. So far from paradise, so close to Walt Disney. It's 2019. There's no Dust Bowl, just real estate speculators and all the lives they stole. I don't know what to think as I hear the reporter say 1,000 people died last year living on the streets of LA. It's 2019. I'll do one more song, then we'll have a little beer break, and then I'll do a whole other set of entirely different songs. Except that, you'll sense some familiar keys and themes and so. What was that? Oh, good. Jacob Blake was walking to his SUV, Alton Sterling was selling DVDs. Eric Garner had just broken up a fight. Breonna Taylor was asleep in the middle of the night. Tamir Rice was playing in the park. Elijah McClain was out walking after dark. Dominique Clayton was sleeping in her bed, where she was shot by a cop in the back of her head. Say their names. Say their names. Say their names. Say their names. Walter Scott was driving to a store. Betty Jones was answering her door. Philando Castile was driving home with his girlfriend. Anthony Hill was naked on the grass when he met his end. Edsel Ford was walking
In his neighborhood, Michael Brown was blown away just standing where he stood. Kendra James was shot to death at a traffic stop by yet another unaccountable killer cop. Say their names. Say their names. Say their names. Say their names. Atiana Jefferson was playing a video game with her little nephew. Gunned down just the same. Oscar Grant was celebrating the new year. Handcuffed when the shots rang out that everyone could hear. Eric Reason pulled into a parking spot. Not long after that was when he was shot. George Floyd was just shopping in a store. Micah Xavier Johnson thought he was still at war. Say their names. Say their names. Say their names. Say their names. Say their names.
Check, 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 check. Sounds good, yeah.
Sure.
Here we go.
Sit two.
Thank you.
The 5th month of the year, on the 1st of May, known around the world as International Workers' Day. You'll still see people marching in every corner of the earth. St. John to Santiago, Kerala to Perth, all keeping alive the fantasy what could happen down the line when the workers of the world combine. You can see us gathering early in the morn. Some are celebrating the shackles we have shorn, while so many billions are just waiting for the moment that we might stop losing the class war. When someday we can all say, yeah, we're doing fine. When the workers of the world combine. When that time arrives, maybe it looks like May Day, like a festival that comes home and doesn't go away. Every race and gender, every walk and station, with the working class united, every land and nation. Then just watch what happens when we follow the same sign. When the workers of the world combine. 5th month of the year, on the 1st of May, known around the world as International Workers' Day.
Well, Huda was just doing an event with Stella Assange, and this is a song about her and her husband, who she met under very unusual circumstances.
When Julian met Stella in the embassy, in the only room for 7 years that he would ever see, guarded by police with cops on every street, an unusual situation for the first time you should meet. When Julian met Stella, the time they spent was increasingly within the walls of a little tent, where they could have some privacy from the ever-present gaze under which he was spending all his nights and days. When Julian met Stella, there was the chance of grace. Perhaps the president would decide to drop the case. They had 2 children beneath the watchful eyes of the Americans and British and all kinds of other spies. When Julian met Stella on Embassy Row, it was before he was abducted and forced to go to Belmarsh prison without a chance to speak, awaiting the extradition that the USA seeks. When Julian met Stella, the folks at the UN and people all around the world spoke out then. This journalist belongs among the free, not in prison for exposing crimes against humanity. When Julian met Stella,
I got a great new T-shirt, wonderful new T-shirt.
Do it again.
Oh yeah, get that. Yeah. It's a great new T-shirt. Free Palestine. And that's an introduction to a song. That was right there. Let's see. It's right here somewhere. I was, it was very, I don't know what the right adjective to use is, but kind of, I guess, interesting might be a neutral one, to hear about Attorney General Merrick Garland's appearance in Ukraine with his bulletproof vest there, telling the world's media that the United States, although it is not a member of the International Criminal Court, is suddenly enthusiastic about prosecuting war crimes, which is, news to me. It seems to depend on who commits the war crimes. I heard them marching, chanting, "Kill them all." I saw millions of people trapped behind ghetto walls. I saw the soldiers shooting every Friday afternoon, with some exposed to sickness, with others made immune. I saw the tear gas in Al-Aqsa, eyes open wide. I saw the mob attack the motorist and beat him till he died. I heard the generals lying. I saw the tanks moving in. I heard the settlers shouting, "Let the killing begin." Look up above, hear the ear-splitting sound. Watch the buildings crumble to the ground. See the planes in the sky there by the sea, so much like New York City. I heard the wailing voices of the dying and forlorn, of the kids who couldn't get out and those who weren't warned. I saw all the schools and hospitals in pieces there still from the last time the IOF came to maim and kill. I saw the brave children with piles of rocks facing tanks demolishing city blocks. What's left of the grove but some sap as they try to wipe Palestine off the map. Look up above, hear the ear-splitting sound.
Watch the buildings crumble to the ground. See the planes in the sky there by the sea, so much like New York City. I heard the DNC and all the Republicans too pledge allegiance to Netanyahu. I heard the president start the story with rockets from a ghetto where people live in rubble, starved by an embargo. I saw a whole lot of crocodile tears on display for the zillionth time. I heard politicians say, "Can both sides please de-escalate?" On one side are the occupied, on the other an apartheid state. Look up above, hear the ear-splitting sound. Watch the people crumble to the ground. See the planes in the sky there by the sea, so much like New York City. I heard them marching, chanting, "Kill them all." I saw millions of people trapped behind ghetto walls. Free Palestine. Yeah, I always leave the chance for somebody else. You know. There are certain corporations responsible for the situation we're in right now. When Chevron came to Ecuador, it was Texaco back then. They did there what they did so many times again. An ocean of sludge stored in pits unlined, no stone unturned, no resources unmined. They call it the Chernobyl of the Amazon. 1,000 square miles, dead and gone. When Chevron came to Ecuador, it was a dictatorship there. What happened in the Amazon, they didn't care. As long as they made money, let the oil flow. Where the waste went, nobody wanted to know. And if they did, they could be bought. And if not, they could be abducted, tortured, and shot. When Chevron came to Ecuador, the location was preferred by the oil corporation. Because they had free reign, there was no oversight. And if anyone complained, then one night they'd not be seen again. It was a torture state. This was why Chevron thought it was so great. When Chevron came to Ecuador, it was paradise on earth. They turned it into a land of stillbirth. They left behind the ruins and took all the loot. Now they're trying to silence the ones who brought the lawsuit. Why was Danziger detained? A corrupt judge knows. And where are all the billions that the company owes? When Chevron came to Ecuador. When Chevron came to Ecuador. Let's see here. One day you're working, the next you're not. What you have is what you got. You lost a job you thought you'd keep. You wake up at night, you can't sleep. You got time now, time to dream, time to break down, cry and scream, and the earth spins round again. Sometimes your goals of any size just vanish front of your eyes, and all that's left is what you see, like the squirrel outside your window in the tree, and the man there on the screen wants us to try injecting Listerine, and the earth spins round again.
The dice are up, no telling where they'll land when they come down from the air. Everything can change and fall apart. It can affect your lungs and your heart. Assumptions thrown, they're in the breeze. Who knows what they'll be when we're done with this disease? And the earth spins round again. One day you're okay, things are all right. Then all of a sudden, overnight, foreclosed, evicted, living in cars, empty hotels and wine bars. Wake up to learn our collective fate depends on how we cooperate, and the earth spins round again. And the earth spins round again. Yeah. Well, this song I just and I wrote it. We've been having like some of the biggest forest fires in the world for years in the western United States, and some of the air quality has been the worst in the world in Portland, the worst in the entire world, and sometimes in the past couple of years, and it's very apocalyptic. And now you all know what I'm talking about, and. So sorry, but now, these things often start in the U.S. A lot of other bad things start in the U.S. Like, I mean, not that climate change necessarily, well, it kind of did, actually. But, like, there's other things that just, like, sort of take a while before, like, I'll be singing these songs here and getting some blank looks, like, gosh, it was really so bad? And then, like, a few years later, it's like, yeah, sing that one again, because it's like the landlord thing, But we've had the rents doubling, tripling, for a long time in the U.S., but now that's happening in London, and they used to look at me like a little, like I had anger management issues when I sang about my landlord, but now nobody thinks that anymore, so it's very gratifying in a sad kind of way, I don't want to be right about this, But I wrote this after some days of some like over 400 AQI air and white ashes falling from the sky, and the air being orange, and listening to the radio about the fires coming closer, and wake up another morning, see my baby's cheeks, glad to be around, to have another week, to watch the magic happen, find all there is to learn, as the planet floods and burns. Wake up another morning, grind some coffee beans, turn on Al Jazeera, marvel at the scenes. Towns reduced to ashes while the twisters turn, as the planet floods and burns. Wake up another morning, picking on these strings. One more day to be here, find out what life brings. The horizon's red and hazy, that much I can discern, as the planet floods and burns. Wake up another morning, watch the neighbors drive away, heading to a warehouse to work another day, leaving me to wonder how fast this wind can churn, as the planet floods and burns. Wake up another morning, See the Twitter trolls complain about the fascists who are living on the dole, demanding safe space in the boxcar and other such concerns as the planet floods and burns. Wake up another morning, see the orange hue, know what needs to happen, don't know what to do. Show me to the ark, where's the bow and stern, as the planet floods and burns. Wake up another morning, in the now again. If I want to see the future, I can count to 10. History, you'll find it in the tombstones and the urns, as the planet floods and burns. Well, I'll sing a song about a more hopeful moment. 1848 was a really good year. It was a really bad year to be a member of any royal family outside of England and Russia, because all of them were deposed. And it wasn't necessarily a good year to be anybody, really. I mean, because tens of thousands of people died in the rebellions. But it's one of those various sort of revisionist history things that, like, at least in some parts of Europe, like anybody that went to high school in Germany, for example, everybody knows about 1848. It's like a thing that happened that people know about. They learn about it in school. We had an 1848 in the US too, but good luck finding anybody who knows about it, unless they heard this song or like one book that got written a while ago. Patroons came from Holland to America, became landlords where none had been before. Soon one man owned 500,000 acres on both sides of the Hudson River shore. He invited families to move in and give him 30% of everything they grew every year. This is how they pay the rent. His name was Van Rensselaer. He became one of the richest men on earth. In today's terms, $90 billion is how much he'd be worth. All this for doing nothing, but saying all of this was his. I have the power of the state behind me, and I'm in the landlord biz. After 200 years of this and one revolution, another Van Rensselaer had another son, and this Rensselaer was greedier than his ancestors dead and past. It was the 1840s and things were changing fast. It was the straw that broke the back. The bottle was uncorked. They started organizing meetings, the tenant farmers of New York. They found the strength of numbers. They found the power of suggestion. They found each other asking the same question. Who gave you the right to be a landlord? To live a life of ease while others toil? Who gave you the right to be a rich man while the rest of us pay you so we can work this soil? They vowed they would stop the rent collection. They vowed they'd bring this madness to an end. When one blew the tin horn of distress, they soon found they had 1,000 friends with calico skirts, masks upon their faces, on horseback, armed with knives and guns. They chanted and they yelled, they kept their farms, and they kept the sheriffs on the run. They asked, who gave you the right to be a landlord? To live a life of ease while others toil? Who gave you the right to be a rich man
while the rest of us pay you so we can work this soil. The governor's militias tried to stop them, but nothing could be done to break their will. And by 1848, the landlords buckled, sold their holdings to the farmers in the hills. Yes, they overthrew this feudal system, but it's replaced now by speculators and banks. And you can still hear the homeless families asking of all the landed gentry in our ranks, who gave you the right to be a landlord? To live a life of ease while others toil? Who gave you the right to be a rich man, while the rest of us pay you so we can work this soil? Who gave you the right to be a landlord? To live a life of ease while others toil? Who gave you the right to be a rich man, while the rest of us pay you so we can work this soil? Who gave you the right?
We almost took a detour to go visit the only man to have entered Parliament with honest intentions, but it was a little too far out of the way to go to the mothership them in, so we... I love Jeremy Corbyn, so it's really not true. There was some... I love Richard Bergen. There's at least a good handful of parliamentarians, so I shouldn't say that Guy Fawkes was the... But, you know. He had very good intentions. He might have had the best of intentions, not the only one with honest intentions, but it really would have made for a very exciting episode in history if he had succeeded, but kind of a letdown otherwise. And then we have to burn his effigy every year for the past several hundred years. I mean, people really just don't let it go. Like, it's like, I mean, he got busted anyway, you know. Oh, well. Well, if you're feeling really overwhelmed and depressed about climate change, I recommend visiting Denmark, although, don't fly there. But if you visit Denmark, you may end up feeling hopeful again. Not that they're going to solve all the problems of the world, but when you get there, you see the evidence that the Danes are actually trying to mitigate climate change and do something about the situation. It's really very obvious all over the place. And there's been a lot of Danes who have taken a very proactive sort of stance around issues in the past. This is a story that's one of my favorite examples of you could call it an extremely creative form of protest that was totally, absolutely far more effective than anyone could have imagined at the time. It was in the 1970s. The fuel crisis had begun. The choices were presented to us as if we had none. Leaders of industry said they could solve the problem by mastering the power of the radioactive atom. Some folks in Western Jutland got a notion in their heads. They thought there might be something they could offer up instead. A few hundred people gathered at a little place called Tvind and declared their will to harness the power of the wind. We're gonna build the biggest windmill in the world. We're gonna build the biggest windmill in the world. There were many who said their science wasn't sound, that such a mighty windmill would simply topple to the ground. Some of them were scientists, the vast majority were not, but they knew with years of effort you could do a lot. Word about the project spread far and wide. 100,000 visitors came to help and to advise.
Till one day those windmill builders drove in with a crane and lifted up their giant wings with a mighty chain. We're gonna build the biggest windmill in the world. We're gonna build the biggest windmill in the world. When Twintcraft was completed, it reached up to the sky. Its wings churned in the air at 54 meters high. The critics all fell silent. No one now was jeering, as even industry agreed this was some damn fine engineering. The wind regaled Jutland from the North Atlantic Sea as it was seamlessly converted into electricity. It was power for the people, leukemia for none, when they declared in Denmark, just south of the midnight sun. We're gonna build the biggest windmill in the world. We're gonna build the biggest windmill in the world. They gave away the patents. They said knowledge should be free. And their plans were copied by a newborn industry. Soon Denmark would be known as a windmill building nation. And it all started with some hippies at the Twintcraft power station. Debates were held in Parliament about which way things should go. Build a nuclear reactor, the majority said no. It could have gone quite differently. In much of the world it did, except for those in Ulfborg who said we're getting off the grid. We're gonna build the biggest windmill in the world. We're gonna build the biggest windmill in the world. We're gonna build the biggest windmill in the world. We're gonna build the biggest windmill in the world.
Thank you. Well, the big after the exposing the corruption of the Icelandic banking sector, the next really major leak that was exposed, facilitated by WikiLeaks, was in 2010, which was exposing horrific war crimes committed by the United States in Iraq 3 years earlier. And these are specifically the charges for which Julian Assange's extradition to the United States is being sought. And here's a little song about one of those war crimes, which the leak of the war crimes was a direct source of inspiration for some folks in Australia who, when they heard about this and then they heard about US-Australian war games happening in Queensland, they did what a lot of people have done in a lot of times in previous times over the past several decades all over the US, just not enough people, but they did what is a very common thing in the community called the Catholic workers. They trespassed onto a military base with a sledgehammer looking for a nose cone of a combat aircraft to swing at. And they found one. Then they got arrested. I watched it on the TV. Machine guns, fire towards the ground. Watch the people run. Helicopter gunship strafing the street. Watch them lining up the bodies in the Baghdad heat. They say these leaks had consequences. I must agree. When I saw them fire on the children, it affected me. I thought, what if I were wearing the other shoe? If I had a hammer, what would I do? I am just a person like anyone. I am just another
mother's son. I have no special powers. I cannot fly. Not like that helicopter gunship up in the sky, sending all those bullets all around to the journalists and children on the ground. I am just one man, that's very true. But if I had a hammer, what would I do? Sometimes I try to wonder, why should I care? But then the answer seems so obvious. There are people down there. And right here in Queensland, there's an army base. And there's a helicopter gunship just sitting in place. There's a time for watching. There's a time to act. It's just gonna kill more children if it remains intact. I am just one person, but you are too. If you had a hammer, what would you do? If you had a hammer, what would you do?
Thank you. You have been very kind, and that's wonderful. All the live stream, whoever's out there watching, hello, wherever you are, and this will be archived if people want to watch the video somewhere. I'm sure. I'll do a couple more songs. This machine is dangerous. It communicates. It can carry memes that can destabilize a state. It can carry rumors, whether true or not. It can sow discord like an agent or a bot. It can bring people together. It can unify, or it can spread half-truths and lies. This machine is dangerous. It can light a fire. There may be no limit to what it can inspire. Bring a person to the edge of sanity and back. It can mobilize a mob to attack. It can fire ammunition with each swing of a pick, faster than Jackie Chan can kick. This machine is dangerous. It's locked and loaded. Each string is a grenade that hasn't yet exploded because it exists here in the world, on the net. Whether it's on Twitch or on your TV set, with words, ideas can spread. Each one a potential bullet in the head. This machine is dangerous. It can make you dance. It can make you feel like maybe you have a chance. It can sell a brand of ketchup. It can save your soul. It can create division if division is the goal. It can build a movement, or it can sell it out. Of one thing at least there is no doubt. This machine is dangerous. Thank you. I'll do one more, and thanks for coming. Thanks so much to John for putting this together. What's that? Oh my goodness, I haven't done that in forever, and I'm afraid I don't know it. That's a very embarrassing admission. But I'm going to learn it before you come next time. I will learn every request you send me, and that's a promise. And this is a song about a friend of mine's grandma. And if anybody knows somebody in Wakefield, Fastlane Peace Camp, Glasgow, or Belfast, I will be there in the next several days. Dr. Normul will be there, and all those places except for Wakefield. And yeah, and nobody out there on the online is wondering if I have any merch, because they know how to click play, but I don't have any merch. And if you like this music, you can go hear me for free online. That's how it is these days. You go there and you click play, and then you hear the music. And if you want to support me, I have a Patreon account, because Spotify does not support artists, but it's still really cool that people can listen to all the world's music for free. It's just, we'll figure out how to get paid for that eventually. What's that? Oh, no, I'm good. Oh, thank you. It's okay.
Katarina Jakob, long before she took that name, was organizing workers in Hamburg just the same. Organizing beneath a flag of deepest red, a new dawn of peace and freedom clearly shining in her head. Katarina Jakob first was sent to jail when the trappings of democracy all began to fail. She was frequently arrested in and out of custody when her first husband was in hiding from the Nazis. Katarina Jakob was acquitted of a crime, but the Gestapo had the last word. They weren't finished with her this time. She was sent to Ravensbrück, a killing hunger at her side. She heard of the execution, how her second husband died. For Katarina Jakob, the end was close at hand. She was on a death march with a ragged, starving band, marching through a forest, being led by the SS. What would happen hours later seemed impossible to guess. When the sun rose the next morning, it was the 1st of May, and they all sang the Internationale. They all sang the Internationale. Katarina Jakob thought about her children and the friends and comrades taking care of them, not knowing yet if any of them survived, not knowing that soon she'd see her daughters both alive. Katarina Jakob watched the German soldiers fleeing, streaming from the east, that's what she was seeing. Allied bombers flew above them, she thought they all might die, and then soon there was the silence of all the SS men. When the sun rose the next morning, it was the 1st of May, and they all sang the Internationale. They all sang the Internationale. Katarina Jakob saw red flags flapping in the breeze above the Russian tanks, and she fell upon her knees. And so many different voices in so many different tongues sang the most beautiful song that could ever have been sung. In German, Lithuanian, in Polish, and in Dutch, a myriad of melodies as never had been such. In Russian and in Yiddish, Italian and French, emerging from the forest beneath the trench. When the sun rose the next morning, it was the 1st of May, and they all sang the Internationale. When the sun rose the next morning, it was the 1st of May, and they all sang the Internationale. They all sang the Internationale. Folget die Signale auf zum letzten Gefecht. Die Internationale erkämpft das Menschenrecht. Folget die Signale auf zum letzten Gefecht. Die Internationale erkämpft das Menschenrecht.
Thank you very much. Vielen Dank.